Good afternoon. Welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. Delighted to have back on the show Roy from Rightval. How are you? Are you okay, Roy?
I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, weather's miserable, but we're smiling. I'm hiding. Got the heating on. Typical southerner.
It's all right here in Manchester, actually, for unusually, so I'll keep quiet. It'll probably be floods in the next hour. Nice to see you're one of the few people, unlike myself, who's taken the time, energy, ironing a nice white shirt. That's good to see. I'm in this now for the rest of the winter, basically. This is my full winter gear.
I've only got a shirt on because I had to go and see a client today, so otherwise I'd have had a polo shirt on.
You keep it going with your key worker activity. I like it. You keep going. Roy, obviously, we caught up with you earlier in the year and learned obviously about the setup here. We're here today to talk about the fully nurtured element that you're bringing to the table here, which is really, really obviously exciting. Do you want to just give us just a brief overview again, just in terms of what Rightval is and what your background is, and then we'll jump into the new stuff.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Simon. So Rightval was basically born out of a need for what we felt was an affordable product that was easy to use. I mean, we talked about this just now, Simon. If it's not a one-click wonder or a plug and play, I myself just get bored and switch off, and I'm sure I'm not alone.
Straight away.
Yeah, it's got to, as you say, plug and play, get it working. You don't mind filling a few bits, but yeah, you don't want to overcomplicate. And as I said last time, that's where kind of Rightval was born. Matt, who's the programmer behind it, is an absolute genius and a whiz. Listens to me from my experience as an estate agent as well. We then launched at the start of this year the managed pack, because again we were listening to what clients were saying. I think that's really important, listening to feedback, talking to our sort of the agents out there that are using this and seeing what they like and dislike. And one of the things we noticed very quickly, and it frustrated both Matt and I, was that agents just weren't putting it to good use. And I'm sure that's the same across the board with all the other different sort of valuation tool options out there. And so that's where the managed program came in. So we create all the Facebook adverts. We don't charge extra. It's all included within the $199 for the Facebook marketing, and just drive leads to you. And it's down to you as the agent. Just pick up that phone, get on the phone, get talking to people, and do what you're good at.
Yeah.
And again, I think that was not just feedback, Simon. That was, I think, Matt and I's frustration that we knew we had a good product, and we could see that people probably weren't getting the best out of it. So that's where that was born. And then a lot of conversations I've had, particularly coming out of lockdown, with agents who were looking for sort of new ways to generate leads, bolster up their business. 9 out of 10, I would say, without actual stats, just don't have any kind of, I suppose, blog, regular contact, newsletter that goes out. Those that do very well with it. I know I do here with our estate agency side as well.
It takes time and dedication, though, doesn't it, Roy? Really, and then unfortunately, in that realm, if you're like invited out to get to a Val or you feel you can get a bit of business elsewhere, those ones are always pushed into the to be filed later pile, aren't they?
Totally, absolutely. And I think it is easy to sort of run away and be busy fools and kind of forget about things. And you hear people saying, "Oh, I don't want to pay for somebody to write my blogs." Well, any good agent should be able to write some articles at some point, but it's having that consistency, Simon. And this we talk about with Facebook videos. I know Chris Watkin goes on about it. Just constantly put good quality content out there. So, again, from feedback, people weren't using blogs. People were talking to clients, might not get hold of them in the first instance, might try them again, and then it would just sit there. And I regularly said to people, "So, what are you putting that into? What sort of system are you?" And it was just this kind of, there was that kind of, I suppose, tumbleweed moment over the phone or on a Zoom call. And from talking to Emily, who's our absolute marketeer whiz, she came up with the idea of the nurture program. So effectively, I suppose really this is a start and end product that we can now deliver to the market very cost effectively. So through the managed system, Emily then sets up for all the leads to come in, feeds them into a regular nurture system. We just mentioned just now, that's letters that are created for a 12-month period. Yeah. On top of that, we also give a marketing update, not specifically for your area, but as a general. Yeah. And then we have a news flash. Again, like we said, if Boris decides to sort of double the length of time that we've got the stamp duty exemption for, then that would go out to all the agents' clients. Yeah. The benefit of that is that the customer at the end of that email is seeing content coming from that agent. It doesn't come from Rightval, it comes from the agent. So that agent is seen as, again, that kind of go-to person. They're just sort of 2-3 times a month, just touching base. So you're not overdoing it. I think sometimes you can
the expert in their area, isn't it, really? It's the critical consistency. And as you said, even if they don't have the time to read every one of these articles in full, the fact that it's there subliminally in the background with, you know, relevant hyperlocal information and everything else is really useful, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we don't do it as a local thing. We do it more as a sort of a generic thing, and just sort of reiterate what's going on with the market. And that's what people
that's the area that Chris kind of fits in, isn't it? If you want that local element there, if you're doing the overview there, you're doing the macro situation, aren't you? Because to be able to, you couldn't go down to the micro level and do it at the price point, could you? Because by definition, you're doing too much work with it. I think you're absolutely spot on in terms of that point about you get people jumping in for a while, they get a bit of a, you know, they get a bit of a blog going, and then, you know, the internet's just replete with all these lost graveyards of blogs, aren't they? That haven't been updated.
But regularly, whenever I get, I get notifications through our system that somebody's kind of logged onto Rightval, sort of set up a trial or whatever. And the first thing I always do, Simon, is I'll always look at what their social media presence is. And I can't say disappointing, because I've learned, over the last few years, how important it is to have that in place. But it is difficult. I get it. I totally get it. It's very, very difficult to keep the consistency. It's having the time to do it. I think, as you say, as a lister, as an estate agent, as a business owner, somebody rings you up, I've got a house I want to put on the market, can you come and value it? Everything else just gets dropped and you go, because that's, in theory, your gold dust. But what you've got to be looking at is, what have you got going in the background that is going to give you that contact with clients over the next 12, 18, 24 months, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. It's just keeping it going, keep pushing it. And it literally is, for an agent, totally hands off. They don't have to do anything at all, apart from just pick up the phone and ring the leads when they come in.
Yeah, that's the least you can do, isn't it? Somebody who goes on and on. And here we go. The wonderful Zoe, Roy M. Fever. Questions again, Zoe. I see. Are you in a cupboard? Thank you for that.
I'm hiding in my office downstairs.
Good stuff. Anyway, okay, good. So let me just recap then. So it was it? Did you say the reason for kicking this off was your Emily suggested it was a good idea? Was that right?
It was feedback that I got every time I spoke to a client, or Emily was on a lot of the phone calls with me. We're sort of going through clients who are existing or new signups, and people just didn't have an understanding of how to set up. We hear this word funnels. Everybody goes on about funnels. But I think it frightens a lot of people. Estate agents aren't marketeers. And this is what we kind of decided to do, is we realised that people they weren't interested, Simon. We all kind of think we want to do it, but it's like, I haven't got time to do it. I mentioned to you, there was a product recently that I looked at, signed up for, realised I didn't have time to do anything with it. I have cancelled it. Nothing against the product. It's just my time. I just don't have the time. So this is very much automated on the back of it. They just don't have to do anything at all, to be fair.
See that's a whole list of different products I've signed up to and not implemented properly, basically.
But we all do it, don't we? But we all do it.
It's really, really hard. First of all, the plethora of solutions out there that on the face of it are, and this is probably the issue with it. If we're honest, they probably whether they do it deliberately or not, it's oversold in terms of how easy it is to get it actually, into a kind of content machine point of view where it's just ticking over. Yes, you can get to that position, but you don't go into it. You fool yourself. You don't go into it with your eyes open. And certainly a lot of providers don't bother to actually say, well, actually, it is a bit of a trouble getting it going, but they should be a bit honest and say, once you put the time and energy in, then you're okay. But again, who does have the time and energy in this day and age, don't we?
And we don't. And I think that's the two key points there, is people just don't have the time at all. And people also, I worry that people haven't got the foresight to be thinking about next year's business, the year after, and so on and so on. They're great wins today. Don't get me wrong, that's fantastic.
That's absolutely critical, isn't it? And look, I've been saying to pretty much everyone who's coming onto this show, bloody hell, we'd have all snapped everybody's hands off if in May or June you'd have said we'd have returned to this kind of consistent bounce back marketplace, wouldn't you? The problem with it, as we know, is that we've bounced back and we have literally been out the door. The agents have been out the door, just getting whatever business is there. And actually, that leads to that horrible cliff face angle in terms of what goes on with marketing often, whereby, you prospect, quite effectively when clearly things are quiet. Then you start getting busy and naturally the prospecting falls off the side of the cliff or the effort that goes into the marketing falls off the side of the cliff. And so when you reach that, for a while, boards breed boards, but the minute that stops to happen, you hit a brick wall, don't you? And that's why that horrible feast and famine thing happens cyclically in so many businesses.
Yeah, it does. Every time I've been guilty of it myself in 23 years. I can remember back to having those scenarios. But again, we were talking briefly, sort of slightly away from Rightval, but this is the mentality behind it. We've just added quite a bit to how we're marketing the property. So the use of videography, drone footage, absolutely everything. We don't need to because the market's really busy. I mean, we're selling left sort of hand over fist. But we need to elevate ourselves. We need to make ourselves stand out. And we need the clients to remember us for specific things. And again, you're nurturing your leads. These people, yes, they might not do it today. They might not do it tomorrow. Give it a year, 2, 3 years. They're going to just walk into your door. And again, we hear, I know Perry goes on about it and Chris Kay goes on about getting those higher fees. You need to be the person go-to in your area. This is only another part of that to stick you in front of people. And if you're not doing it, then good luck in 12, 18 months' time, in my opinion.
Tom Panos, the Aussie trainer guru coach, talks about becoming the attraction agent, doesn't he? Where actually, if you whisper it quietly, a lot of the very best Aussie agents now have reached that stage where, yes, they had to, you don't get to the top straight away by definition, but actually they're not having to do the hours and hours of prospecting that made them the success because actually they are on the top of that.
They're kind of beyond that now, aren't they? They're at that top echelon.
Actually reiterate, as long as they keep their activity levels up, we've just spoke about the board's mentality. You keep them up to date with relevant information, market information and everything else there, and the board element there, and you've got a really powerful combination of tools, haven't you?
Absolutely. And I think that's it. We're all trying to do lots of little bits and bobs, and it's having that, I suppose, that mentality to get the regime in place to make sure you are doing it. I mean, you probably see I do things on Tuesday, Thursday and a Saturday every single week. If I miss one, it's because I failed and I feel guilty for it. And then next week it feels I'm catching up and apologizing for it, because you need to get into that mind frame and that sort of time set of doing everything. And again, that's where the nurture package, it will just take it away from people. They don't have to worry about it. It's just ticking away in the background. And that's your future income.
Cool. We've got some more comments here. So you got a fan club building. Look at this, looking good.
Hi, Mike.
Thanks for my comment there, Mike. Don't worry about it. I'm okay. Brady, again, it's reaching that stage. We can tell it's in lockdown. You're all right. Where's the
other drinks available?
We've got a testimony here put up by the team. The team at Rightval are always on hand to provide advice and support. The setup was quick and easy, and we get a really good amount of leads via their system. I'd definitely recommend them. Shelley Hurst of Brightmove Residential. Thank you for that. And then thanks, a second one there. Really smooth system, easy to use, great leads, good support. Because some consistent themes coming through here, Roy, isn't there? Nick Bay from City Living.
For me as an agent, sorry to interrupt you. For me as an estate agent, I understand about the customer care. Yeah, we don't always get it right. Okay, it's not always going to be for everybody. I get that. I mean, if we have made a mistake, or if we do make a mistake on anything, we'll put our hands up and go, fine, look, we'll work this out. We're not the big corporate company that's got to be drilling that many sort of accounts into the business every single week and every month. We're doing this because we understood what we were missing and what we needed. So all we've done is create a product that we could replicate for other people to benefit from.
Perfect. Well, Rob obviously jumps in post beer, all about nurturing those leads into warm ones, not expecting them to convert instantly, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, Rob. Building that trust, building that consistently over time. So when that person does come to think about selling, you're ahead of the queue, isn't it?
You're there, aren't you? Yeah, you're the kind of the natural go-to person.
And he just puts a bit of meat on the bones. So that average conversion time is 9 months for instant val to insurance. Now that is okay, Rob. You're my favourite person today. Those sorts of stats I absolutely love, because actually people talk about, obviously, the self-gratification, getting the quick leads and working. What do they call him in the film? Glenn Glary, Glenn Ross, wasn't it? Those get the hottest of leads there. But actually, those are the ones that you're normally having to fight over with the local agent. You certainly haven't normally built up any sort of any brand, any loyalty with. So they're going to go with the person who does the best appraisal or
the cheap fee.
You haven't differentiated yourself, have you? But if you've got that in your kit bag, that they've seen you and the brand's built up there, that's going to help 10 times over, isn't it? Great, good stuff. Well, look, keep up the good work, obviously, there, and we'll love to hear from you over the coming months as that develops.
Cool. Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate it. You soon.